We are talking again to Taylor Bradford of the Gloucester Daily Times. Hi, Taylor.
Hi, Heather. How's it going?
It's good. It's good. What's going on with you guys this week?
Yeah, so I had the opportunity to speak to some really incredible people here in the city of Gloucester. Right now, adult daycare centers are closed due to the different shutdowns being instilled by the governor. And so different places are taking upon themselves to not only check in with people who are in need, but also creating really fun bags with some surprises in them. So the Adult Foster Care of North Shore has collaborated with employees, with other donors to create these craft bags to send to families of their clients. And so finding ways to entertain people where they usually send their loved ones to different daycare or programming, they now have these little bags that have bubbles and puzzles and kites. So I was able to speak with a couple people who actually were receiving these bags, and they were saying that it was so helpful. And not only were they receiving these bags, but the people at Adult Foster Care of North Shore are calling in regularly, more than usual, to kind of check in, see how people are doing. And when they need to, they're doing these home visits, but again, they're maintaining that 6 feet distance and ensuring that they're staying safe as well as keeping those that they're visiting safe. But really finding these creative ways to be able to connect with the people that they take care of on a regular basis, which has been really, really cool. And they're actually looking to do it into next week. They gave out about 70 bags, and this filled with games and different coloring things. And so they're looking to do it next week as well. And they're looking for donations of both financial donations, and also people have any new or relatively not used, but if used, games and different arts and crafts supplies that they can use to provide those to the clients of their families and such like that. So that's kind of a really feel-good story, great opportunity to speak with Cynthia Bojorley over at Adult Foster Care yesterday and just hear more about that. So really exciting. And then if we move a little bit, I know you guys had the opportunity to speak to some groomers earlier this week, and I did as well, and kind of talking about what does it look like for groomers during this time. According to Governor Charlie Baker's emergency order, non-essential businesses include animal groomers. Now, veterinarians are still essential workers, and so the governor has said that you should send your animals if they need to get those clipped toenails or some grooming details, that they should bring them to their vets. But the groomers are saying that that's not right. But they're saying that that's going to kind of put a lot of work on veterinarians whose job isn't necessarily to do the grooming, that their job is to kind of focus on the health of the animals, while the groomers are wanting to make sure that they don't get matted, that they're kind of prioritizing the grooming aspect of healthcare for these animals. So had the opportunity to speak to some people who are grooming in Cape Ann, and Julie Wilkins is a local groomer, and she's actually been driving all the way to New Hampshire a couple times a week to do her job, because while it's not allowed in Massachusetts, other states have opened up the opportunity. So she goes to a friend's shop and does her grooming there, and actually a few of her clients follow her there as well. So people are finding loopholes, finding ways in which they can continue doing their work, but doing it in a way that is in compliance with the governor's orders. Now, there's been kind of expression around town of what's right, what's not right, how can I take care of my animals? And a big thing that especially Julie and a couple other groomers were saying is that a lot of people, while they try to teach them online, kind of instruct their clients who aren't necessarily able to get to a groomer in New Hampshire, they've found that a lot of the elderly who have animals can't clip their own animals. So they're kind of stuck not being able to travel, but also not being able to take care of their animals at home. Other people, they said, have injured themselves while trying to clip their animals at home. So definitely there's a juggling act here of how do we take care of our animals in a safe way, but it's also in compliance with the governor's orders. So this story is still developing as, again, we see that May 18th kind of reopening phases. And so seeing how does this affect groomers? Not quite sure right now, but I know that the groomers have voiced their opinion and are definitely finding ways to continue to care for animals in Cape Ann and beyond. So,
yeah, and I just to add to your point, I have heard from the interview that we did that it's really a serious health issue when particularly dogs or cats, probably long-haired cats, get very matted. I mean, it's really hard to undo those mats, and they can add to bugs and sores and all that sort of stuff. So it can be a pretty serious health issue when they can't be groomed well. And I think they have applied to be declared essential services, right?
Yes, because this is not just here in Cape Ann. This is kind of everywhere throughout Massachusetts. People are raising concerns and kind of raising up the fight of why they are essential. But yeah, you're right. The health concerns of these animals. Some of the groomers are saying, if these animals aren't getting groomed properly, then they have to go to the vet for, injuries or health concerns that were raised because they weren't groomed. So their argument, if although people can't go to hairdressers, that comparison of hairdressers and dog groomers are not the same.
Same.
We can let our hair grow a little bit longer than animals. So
We can still brush it. We can still
oh
brush
yeah.
it. So,
Yeah.
exactly. So what else? And you also talked, well, I know what else. You talked to the chief of police on Cape Ann, right?
Yeah. So I had the opportunity to speak with both the chief of police of Rockport, Gloucester, Manchester, and Essex all the other day, and kind of talking about what it's been looking like here in Cape Ann since the shutdown in March, and how that has impacted both how police go about caring for their communities, but also what does that look like for crime. I know you look at the police logs and see the repetition of different things that people are calling for and wondering, are those changing during these times of COVID? And all four have said that they definitely are getting different types of calls. Not all can say that they've seen a difference in types of calls, but Conley was saying that, or Chief Conley of Gloucester was saying that he's definitely seen a decline in crime. So some of the other neighboring cops and police chiefs saying that, they've seen a 50% decrease in regular calls, or, they've seen a decrease in burglaries or larcenies. And those are really encouraging to see, because one of the chiefs said, people are just staying at home. They're complying with the governor's orders, and so we're actually not seeing an increase in crime. But they are saying that they are seeing an uptick in scams that are going around in the area, especially those who kind of are more susceptible, such as the elderly, and then also seeing some mental health issues going around. And so I know there have been different resources out there for different community members of how to combat that, but that is something that they've been seeing an upswing in. They've also said that they've received a lot of calls from community members kind of just letting police know that other people aren't wearing face masks, or people aren't kind of maintaining that social distancing. So they've been receiving a lot of, community calls, kind of just letting the cops know of the current state of how people are following or not following the governor's orders. So they've definitely heard a lot going on there. And the police have also talked about how they are working within the social distancing and kind of staying further apart within their line of work. So they say, they do the roll call outside. They don't really go into the station as much anymore, and trying to figure out, they're always wearing masks, wearing gloves, trying to figure out how to maintain that social distancing. And they actually do a lot of their calls when someone calls saying that they need assistance. They will often do that on the phone, or if possible, or if they need to go, really trying to maintain that social distancing and limit their exposure and limit their need to go inside houses. So if anything, kind of staying on the front lawn and kind of communicating that way. So definitely different than what anything we've seen, last summer or last spring. But they're trying their best, and they're trying to make things work within the pandemic.
Right. And is there any sort of protocol that they have when they receive a call? Like, do they go through a certain line of questioning to check to find out if there's COVID or COVID exposure in the household? Do you ask about that, Taylor?
Yeah. So kind of similar, like I think a lot of companies and organizations are doing this as well, but the police department is definitely doing it as well. They had those line of questions that we constantly hear, are you or a family one sick? Have you had symptoms? What are you feeling? Have you been traveling at any point? So they ask these, base layer foundational questions before they go further, because that will definitely help them make the decision of how they approach the situation. It's definitely an added step into already a whole lot of work that they do every day here in the city. But yeah, they definitely are taking those precautionary measures prior to even going out onto the scene.
Right. So we can be really grateful that that crime is down, and there are more domestic issues, I guess, but it's just easier for the police force to be addressing situations. So, it's kind of hard to approach a burglary event and survey everyone who's exposed here, right? Have you traveled? So, so that's good. That's good. I was telling you my favorite police story recently, the Rockport police. This was printed in the Gloucester Times and the police notes. the Rockport police pulled someone over because they were not wearing a mask. And instead of finding them or even scolding them, they gave them a mask. So it's not a nice gesture. That's the way it should be done, right?
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Taylor. And what are you working on next week for next week?
Yeah, so got a few things lined up for this afternoon. Going to talk to some teachers, kind of in light of Teachers Appreciation Week, and talking to them about the changes that they have seen, but especially as we're entering into the summer, what does it look like for them as they start to think about planning for next year. So I'll be Zooming them rather shortly, but then also looking at a few development projects that are happening here, especially in one of the most iconic art colonies in the United States. So be staying tuned for that article and kind of seeing what that might look like. So looking at that, but then also looking at some things that we've seen over the past couple of years, especially when it comes to oysters and the harvesting of oysters and putting oysters back into the ocean. So talking to some professionals there about how they are going forward with something that they've been doing for a couple of years, but how that might look differently or how the community might or might not be able to be involved because of COVID-19. So all conversations and stories that are coming shortly, but still developing as we speak. So
great. Well, I'll let you get to those teachers, and we look forward to reading all those stories and talking to you next week.
Have a great weekend. Bye.
See you Monday. Bye.
Yeah.